Morning, this is David.
Not really.
COVID virus is still out there. You need others in your.
Whenever you're ready, Kev.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. We're going to start in about 1 minute. Please turn your phones or your iPads or your laptops on mute, please. We're hearing some background noise. And please keep them muted for the entire program until we get to the questions. In fact, the questions you should put in the chat room and Matt will read them. So just please keep your phones and communication devices on mute the entire time. Somebody is not listening. I hear a child or a puppy or.
Not me, Kevin. It's not me.
And we'll wait, Matt, 1 more minute.
Yeah, sure.
All right, unmute your speaker to increase volume.
All right, well, it's certainly quiet now. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think we should get started, Kev.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Kevin Law. I'm the president and CEO of the LIA. I want to thank you all for joining our Environment and Energy Committee meeting. It's chaired by 3 great energy professionals, Bob Cattell, Gene Bernstein, and John Bruckner. And we're very happy to have them here. While we used to have very large programs with over 1,000 people at the Crest Hollow, our committee meetings tended to be on a smaller side, but I'm happy to report today that today is the largest committee meeting that we will ever have. We have 180 people registered for today's program.
Great.
Certainly shows the interest in this exciting industry. So thank you all for joining us today. Energy and environment, energy planning and projects take a long time, and you need to have patience in this sector. In 2008, when I was running LIPA, I actually scrapped the first offshore wind projects proposed for our region. It was off the coast of Robert Moses and Jones Beach. It was too small, which made it too expensive, and it was too close to shore, which made it too controversial. It would have been another Cape Wind project and probably still be in the courts today, and really would have divided our region, I think, in terms of those who were supporting it and those who were opposing it. And that's certainly not the case now, because then in 2009, I proposed a site with Con Edison and NYPA, Offshore Wind Collaborative, 16 miles off the coast of Jones, Long Beach. And that's the site now where Equinor has proposed and is in the process of developing Equinor Wind. So very exciting. And it's really neat for our region that the business community and the labor community and the environmental community are all behind these projects now. Not too many projects on Long Island have that kind of support from those different sectors. And, I've often said our energy challenges are economic development opportunities. And so the LIA has been proud to be supportive of the offshore wind industry and all of our partners with it. So it's exciting to support Governor Cuomo's efforts to make Long Island the offshore wind capital of the entire state. And there's a lot of progress being made. We're going to hear from all the wind companies that are proposing projects or facilitating projects in our region. And we're going to get that update today. And with that, I thank you all again. I'm going to hand it over to my dear friend and one of our co-chairs of our committee, Bob Cattell. Bob?
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. And good morning, everybody. Let me also welcome you to the Long Island Association Energy Environmental Committee. As Kevin mentioned, I'm one of the co-chairs of this committee, and I'm joined by my other 2 co-chairs, Gene Bernstein and John Bruckner. As Kevin mentioned, this is the largest turnout we've ever had. I think it's really a credit to my co-chairs.
Okay, let me try to wrap my.
Sorry? Okay. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm not sure what just happened there, but anyway.
That's all right, Bob, you're good, Bob. It's just someone didn't have their thing on you. You're good.
Okay, as Kevin indicated, judging by the turnout, there's certainly a great deal of interest in the subject, and it's going to be important to our region. As I think some of you know, I chair the Advanced Energy Center out at Stony Brook, but I also chair the National Offshore Wind Research and Development Consortium, which is co-funded by NYSERDA and DOE to do the research that is going to be necessary to bring the new technologies on board and to continue to reduce the cost of offshore wind as part of our energy mix. As you all know, renewables are going to become a much larger part of our energy mix, both nationally and locally. And offshore wind, particularly here in the Northeast and close to Long Island, will be a big player. As Kevin mentioned, New York State has a goal of 9,000 megawatts of offshore wind, a major portion of which has already been awarded. The potential for related jobs as we build up the supply chain for this industry is very attractive to the region. So we're very fortunate this morning to have a very knowledgeable panel whose companies, all of which are involved in the offshore wind industry. You received their bios in advance, so I'm not going to take time from their presentations to read their bios, but I would like to introduce them. I'm going to do that in alphabetical order, and that's the same order that you will hear their presentations. After they're finished, we want to leave time for questions. Matt Cohn's going to be the timekeeper here. Keep everybody on track, Matt. And as Kevin indicated, if you have questions, if you can put them in the chat room, that way Matt can control the questions at the end. So without any further ado, let me introduce our panel in order of their presentations. First will be Julia Bovey. Julia is with Equinor Wind. Next will be Damien Bednarz. Damien is with ENBW North America. Following Damien, we have Jennifer Garvey with Ørsted. And then we have Liz Donahue with Eversource. And Jennifer and Liz will be kind of teaming this thing. Next, we'll hear from Dominic Schwagen with the RWE Renewables. And last but not least, Jordan Shoesmith from Vineyard Wind. So those are our presenters. And I will now turn the program over to Julia. Julia?
I think Julia has to join late, so maybe we'll put her at the end, okay?
Okay, I didn't. All right, well then, Damien Bednarz from ENBW North America, you'll be the leadoff.
Sounds great. Thanks, Bob. And hi, everybody. I hope everyone can hear me well. Appreciate the opportunity here. Thank you to LIA, the co-chairs, and of course, everyone here for taking time to learn more about what we're up to here in Long Island, which is slowly turning into the both North America and also global hub here for offshore wind. So let me kick off here with trying to share my screen. I'm going to do a couple of slides just to give you guys an overview about who we are and what's going on in your backyard. Let's see. And maybe I need permission to share, or
Here we go.
nope, not that one.
Yep.
And for some reason, I can't share it.
I don't know, does Matt?
You should be allowed to, Damien. I have the option that you're allowed to share it.
All right, maybe I'll try and kick it off here. Maybe if someone else would like to go, and I'll pass it on and see if I can share it again. If not, I'll forward it to Matt. Is it possible you can share it from your screen? If not, I will see if I can dig it up.
I have to forward it to me, Damien, but yeah, sure. And maybe you can go to the next person, Bob. Well, we
All right,
Damien.
and
Yeah,
next
apologies.
up is Jennifer Garvey and Liz Donahue, Ørsted and Eversource. So take it away, ladies.
Great. Hopefully I can get my screen up there. Tell me if you can see my slides here.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay, great. Excellent. Okay. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for your tremendous interest in the program this morning. I'm Jennifer Garvey. I'm the New York Market Affairs Manager for Ørsted. Ørsted is a renewable energy company and the global leader in offshore wind. We actually just named the world's most sustainable company for the third year in a row as well. And we've been building offshore wind since 1991. We were the first to do it. And today Ørsted has built and continues to own and operate well over 1,000 offshore wind turbines around the globe. It's over 25% of offshore wind in operation today. We have a joint venture partner in Eversource. Eversource is New England's largest energy provider. It's also a company with a greater than 100-year history working in the Northeast, and they are a premier transmission builder. So together we really have a tremendous team, tremendous expertise to build and deliver great projects for New York. We own together 2 lease areas, or actually more than 2 lease areas, a combination of lease areas, shall we say. The dark areas featured on your screen here. And the yellow dots are the points of interconnection for the projects that we are building for New York. So we have 2 projects that they're working on currently for New York. South Fork Wind will connect into the town of East Hampton, and Sunrise Wind will connect into the town of Brookhaven near Holbrook. And so this I think is just a really helpful map to get a sense of where some of the other lease areas are relative to ours. This isn't all of the lease areas that are currently out here. You'll be hearing from Equinor later. They have another lease area that's in close proximity to Long Island. But we are a minimum of 30 miles from the easternmost point of Long Island, Montauk Point, for our South Fork, for our Sunrise Wind projects, and 35 miles east of Montauk Point for our Sunrise Wind project. So South Fork Wind is a pioneering project for New York. It will actually be the first offshore wind project to connect into the state. It will consist of no more than 15 turbines, so a little smaller than lots of the other projects that are coming down the pike. But this was a project that is currently under contract with LIA. It was awarded a power purchase agreement back in 2018. As I mentioned, it will connect into the town of East Hampton, and this one is on track to begin energy production at the end of 2023. So it's a project that's really hit a number of milestones recently. From a permitting perspective, it's quite mature. We've spent a lot of years out in the town of East Hampton speaking with the community there about this project. Just recently, the local boards there, the town board and the board of trustees have authorized the granting of real estate rights to support our project. We're also well into the permitting phase at both the state and federal level. At the state level, we go through what's called the Article 7 siting process. We hope to be on the Public Service Commission agenda in March, as early as March, for the issuance of our Certificate of Public Need, which is a major permitting milestone at the state level. At the federal level, we're also making good progress. The draft environmental impact statement for the project was released just a couple of weeks ago. The first hearings on that DEIS are actually starting today, and we hope to have all of our permits in hand by January of 2022. So this is a project that's ready to begin construction as soon as our permits are received, hopefully just after January 2022, so that we can meet our in-service date of the end of 2023. In total, this project will deliver power for more than 70,000 homes each year, and we're really excited at the progress that we're making. And with that, I'm actually going to hand it over to my colleague Liz Donahue, who will tell you about Sunrise Wind.
Great, thank you, Jen.
And Liz, we have about a minute and a half before we have to get to the next panelist, okay?
Okay, I'll be quick. Jen, can you flip to?
Oh, sorry, yep.
Thank you. So Sunrise Wind is our largest project. It's 880 megawatts. As Jen noted, it'll be 30 miles northeast of Montauk, and it will interconnect and have landfall in Brookhaven and then connect in to Holtzville, into the grid in Holtzville. It is a large project with a lot underground in order to make this connection work. But it has great benefits to Long Island. Besides creating energy, we expect to have 800 direct jobs attributed to this project, and then an additional 1,500 jobs indirectly associated with this project. We have committed to paying prevailing wage and also to a project labor agreement, which is standard for us as well. And then in addition to the actual project and the wind that it will be generating and the benefits that will provide to Long Island, we have also going to locate our operations and management center in Port Jeff. We've purchased a property in Sawtucket as well to serve as that purpose. And then we are working with a group, a coalition of folks, including the building trades, the Long Island Federation of Labor as well, and Suffolk County Community College, among several others, to create the National Training Center for Offshore Wind. And this is something we continue to work on, but are going to launch with this large group to provide the workforce to go out to sea. And that's our goal there. And then we have some other additional partnerships that we continue to work on to help bring this to fruition and really show the benefits to the community of having a new industry on your shores. Did I do it? Did I get it in under time?
That was perfect, Liz. And thanks, Liz. And Bob, Julia Bovey has joined us. So
Great. Okay. So why don't we jump back to Julia then? Julia, I didn't read your bio. The folks had it in advance, but it's my pleasure to introduce Julia Bovey, who's with Equinor Wind. So Julia, why don't you take it over from here?
Thank you so much, everyone. And thanks for your patience as I am in a constant state of juggling right now. And I appreciate everyone's understanding about that. Good morning, and thanks so much to the LIA Energy Committee for having this. It's a terrific opportunity, and I have always found that the insights, thoughts, ideas from this committee have made my work better, pretty much no matter what I've been working on at the moment. So here we go. Equinor Wind US. We had a big month in January. I'm trying where we started the year with a bang, and we found out that we won 2 new projects in New York. And I will get into the details of the 2 new projects. But as many of you know, that this second offshore wind procurement that New York just completed, they asked the developers to include proposals for new ports that would get matching funds from the state. So both of our proposals in this latest round had a big port included, and we won those as well. So we've got a lot of work to do, but it's very exciting, I think, for the whole region. A little bit about Equinor. I've met many of you and presented in the past, but we're a Norwegian company leading the transition from oil and gas to low carbon, high value offshore wind. We're also doing some work in solar, batteries, hydrogen in different parts of the world. So we're 3/4 owned by the Norwegian people, who have been an early adopter to technologies to lower carbon. And it's really a terrific place to work because you have that edict behind you. Empire Wind 1, I think a lot of you have heard about this project already. It's 816 megawatts. We won it back in 2019 at the same time as Sunrise Wind, the project that Ørsted just presented. This was our first project in New York, planned for O&M base in Brooklyn, as well as interconnection in Brooklyn, and always with the hope that it would be built in Brooklyn as well. So we won this, without being sure if the Brooklyn port would actually come to fruition. And we were absolutely delighted when it was awarded in this last round. So a little more about the announcement of these 2 projects that we just won. Combined, it's 2,500 megawatts of renewable energy. So to put it in perspective, Caithness, which I believe is Long Island's most modern, efficient gas plant, is 350 megawatts. Now, of course, there's differences between high-tech combined cycle gas and offshore wind. I grant that. But just to give folks an idea of what the size we're talking about, with 2,500 megawatts from these new awards, plus Empire Wind 1, 3.3 gigawatts. We've committed $47 million in workforce development, innovation, other community benefits, $25 million for regional monitoring of wildlife, and fish stocks. We are coordinating with New York State on their efforts for job training, which of course includes a big focus on Farmingdale State College, and 5,200 jobs supported by both projects. And that's at a couple of different locations, and I'll get into that in a second. But studies show that the increase, the added value to the New York economy from these projects, these new projects, is 4.5 billion. Empire Wind 2. So this is the first of the new projects that we just won. It's in the outer half of this New York lease area we call the Pizza Slice. And we are maturing our plans to interconnect it in the area of Town of Hempstead, City of Long Beach on the South Shore, and bring a cable up to the substation that currently services the Barrett power plant. And we would build our own substation like we have to do for all of our projects on private property in that area. We will continue the use of gravity-based foundations where the seabed conditions allow for it in this project as well. And then Beacon Wind. That is the project from our lease area that's further out. It's in, you see those outlines there. That's the same area where you see Sunrise and South Fork, to the northwest. This project is planned to interconnect into the Astoria substation, which is just west of LaGuardia Airport, pretty much. So the cable is being studied that would go through Long Island Sound, which is something that I hope to stay in close conversation with stakeholders on Long Island about. So ports, winning this South Brooklyn Marine Terminal SBMT port proposal means that we can build all of our projects in New York State. I believe that we're the only offshore wind developer currently planning to build our projects in New York State. We think that SBMT is really well situated to service the potentially growing supply chain up and down the Hudson, and also on the coast in New Jersey and perhaps up to Connecticut. So it's a big investment, 286 million. It's being shared by New York State, New York City, and us. And we expect to see 1,000 what we call short-term jobs. That means as long as a project's being built there, folks will be working. And then the 200 long-term jobs, those are the folks who would be doing the operations and maintenance on the projects. And the second port we won, up at Port of Albany, we have a proposal to build a tower factory for offshore wind. This factory will also be capable of building transition pieces, which is a piece of steel that would connect the foundation to a tower. So we will use the towers from this factory for all 3 of our projects. And we're hoping that other developers will also choose to use either towers or transition pieces from this factory. We partnered with 2 very experienced steel fabricators, Marvin and Welcon. And it's important, I think, that these benefits of offshore wind are felt from Albany to Montauk, really. And I think together the offshore wind developers are making that a reality.
It's about a minute left if you can, okay?
This is my last slide.
Oh, great.
So just one more word about the gravity-based foundations, because they are different from what we're seeing in the rest of the US market. The most common type of offshore wind foundation is called a monopile. And they're used in 2/3 of the projects around the world. And we decided early on that we wanted to try to make a foundation in New York to put folks to work, but also minimize pile driving in the lease area, because there are endangered North Atlantic right whales up and down the East Coast. So the gravity-based structures they are floated onto the seabed rather than the pile driving. And there's no place better in the world for building massive things out of steel and concrete than New York. So we're really excited about these foundations. So that's it for me. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to questions.
Good. Thank you, Julia.
Hey, Bob, Damien is ready when you're ready to call back.
Damien is ready. Okay, let's turn it over to Damien Bednarz from ENBW North America. Damien.
Excellent. Thanks again, everybody. And apologies for the technical disruption earlier. So I'm Damian Bednarz, External Affairs Director here with EnBW North America. We are the largest integrated utility in Germany. We are actually focused on the energy transition that's been happening overseas there, and we're bringing that opportunities and investments here into the US. So our main focus areas are the New York Bight, as well as the West Coast. In terms of the next slide. So again, we're a largely integrated utility in Germany. We have been going through a lot of investment here in renewable energies. We're actually focused on developing offshore wind in Germany. We were the first ones to develop offshore wind in a commercial scale in Germany. We've got the largest project without subsidies, one in Europe at the time. And as of yesterday, I also have a significant opportunity to build out an incredible pipeline of efforts in the UK with our partner there, BP, in building out potentially 3 gigawatts of offshore wind in the Irish Sea as of yesterday. We bring a utility mindset to this, right? So we bring in more than just looking at this in a single effort in terms of offshore wind. We also look at this at a holistic level, right? So we're also developing e-mobility efforts in Germany and Central Europe in particular, a lot of efforts on grid security, floating technology, battery storage. So we're looking at how to kind of fully integrate all these kind of available technologies and assets as we stand this industry up and the partnerships we develop. Just a quick look where we are globally. So obviously a lot of activity in Europe with kind of more of a mature market. We're looking at the Asia Pacific as well. And of course, North America. This is by far going to be the fastest and largest market that's going to be growing out in years ahead. As I said, we're active on the West Coast and the East Coast. So EnBW's North America's primary mission here is to work directly with communities first. We've taken that experience in Germany and elsewhere, and we're going to apply that here on both coasts. We're based out of Jersey City and Boston. Again, our key area here focus is the New York Bight. We are actively exploring opportunities in other areas, but let me explain a little bit more about what we've been doing for the past couple of years here in California. California is unique because we're out there in the Central Coast trying to build out an opportunity of at least 1,000 megawatts of floating technology off of Morro Bay. We do this in partnership with Trident Winds with a project called Castle Wind. What we've done there is really laid the groundwork early, establishing direct communication with the fishing community, developing power purchase agreements, working with the city of Morro Bay, right? So we've taken a lot of community action first and developing kind of our approach so that we come at this from a holistic point of view and not leave anyone behind. Now, let's talk about some of the work that's going on that's going to be exciting and how I can kind of leave you all here with something a little bit different to think about. A couple things for everyone to consider here that's in our backyard. We have a fantastic team being built out there in Washington, administration who's serious about taking offshore wind to the next level. Here in particular, I want to articulate to folks, and especially want to give a big shout out to LIA for adding the fact of increasing federal lease opportunities and lease auctions here in the New York Bight as a key federal priority. We believe that federal action is going to come this year. And so by looking at this calendar and looking at what we have ahead of us, both New York, New Jersey, this area will benefit tremendously from additional lease areas. We need those additional lease areas to meet the climate and clean energy goals that we've set in both states. And in particular, will drive the economic investments, right? So a recent WoodMac study from last year detailed specifically what those billions of dollars will mean, thousands of jobs that will be supported. Additional lease areas will bring competition. And so my colleagues here will see, it also will bring better bids. It'll also bring more opportunities and an increased supply chain. So just to give you a view, we believe that this process will take, if kicked off now, because we have a BOEM director there that's currently in action with Amanda Lefton. We're looking at a potential lease auction at the middle end of September. That may seem ambitious, but it's realistic. And the reason we're putting it out here is because we believe that we can act and move towards this to generate the kind of investment Long Island and these communities need. And so we believe that over the course of this series of efforts and being in a both transparent and effective process, and you'll get this from multiple stakeholders, we can deliver on additional lease auctions and to meet additional future OREC bids in New York and New Jersey. With this will come a further dedication to development in the supply chain. So we're very proud to be organizing at this stage. We've taken a lot of work early. We've taken this level of engagement both at a point where we were serious about including and basically standing up the local supply chain. So we've built out our own supply chain database, and we encourage local efforts in Long Island and elsewhere to sign up and to see if there's a match as we build this offshore wind industry forward. Two, we also are very proud to be a member and the initial sponsor of offshorewindsupplychain.org, a local Long Island effort that's taking shape to really stand out and show where some of these opportunities are. And before I close, I want to say, again, this is going to take everybody, and the opportunity in front of us is truly great. And you see that by the number of industry developers that are here on this panel. And so we're all eager to really get this going. And there's a lot of creative solutions. There's a lot of ways to do it. And we encourage those who are attending to really kind of engage and create this two-way dialogue, because we want to hear from you, but we also want to build this up with you. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Damien. Very nice. I guess we're going to move it right along. And our next presenter is Dominic Schwegman from RWE Renewables. Dominic?
Yes, thank you very much. Trying to share my slides. Are they coming up?
Yep, we can see it.
Super. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present today. I'm Dominic Schwegman with RWE Renewables. I'm leading the development of offshore in the US. Just as a quick overview, who are we? RWE Renewables is a very large renewables player. So we develop, own, and operate renewables assets in the Americas region, in Europe, and Asia Pacific. We're active in different technologies. So we do onshore and offshore wind, as well as solar PV and energy storage. And on the right-hand side here, you can see sort of how we are split up in terms of geography. So about 40% of our generation portfolio is in the US. So we really consider the US a home market for us, because this is where the largest sort of share is of our portfolio, and the rest being in Europe. And a substantial share of the generation assets is really offshore wind. And we have very strong ambition to grow that further and to expand that. Another view on our view of the world, where do we see growth? I think quite clearly the US is a strategic target market for us. We aim to add about 2 to 3 gigawatts of generation capacity on an annual basis. And that equals to an investment of about $1.8 billion annually, and that is net and can be a larger sum if you bring in sort of additional finance. So a very strong belief in the US and a home market in offshore wind for us. So whilst on the global basis, I think we are sort of number 2 in offshore wind. We don't have operational sites in the US or sites under late stage development in the US, as some of the previous presenters. So I will not be able to show you the pretty slides of those projects, but I hope I will be able to do that in the future. And the New York bight opportunities are a key focus for us. Like ENBW, we have also added some capacity to our development portfolio. Just in the recent days, we added 3 gigawatts of development portfolio in the UK, and we have about 2.5 gigawatts of operational offshore projects globally. We do believe that scale is very important, not only to be competitive in what we see as a global market, but also in order to be able to deliver the most efficient and safe and reliable projects and generation to the customer, to the states, to the regions, to the communities. And yeah, that will also help to keep the fare for the ratepayers low. As a little side note here, we sort of have a strong belief and a strong interest in the next phase of offshore wind, which is going to be floating wind. We are very proud to have announced sort of our partnership with the University of Maine and the state of Maine for our demo project in the Gulf of Maine, and that was, I think, announced last year. But we have also demo projects in Spain and Norway underway, and yeah, we really think this is also very exciting because it adds to the scalability of the technology, and yeah, something to watch out for closely, and very exciting for us to engage. Building offshore wind industry in New York, I think we really recognize that the state of New York and Governor Cuomo has been leading the way with the very ambitious 9 gigawatt target. In a way, we feel that the stars are aligning. The offshore ITC has come into place, and we also see that the current and new Biden administration is supporting offshore wind very strongly. I think very glad to see that the environmental review of the Vineyard project is moving ahead. President Biden himself has been mentioning offshore wind, and Amanda Lafton being announced as the BOEM director and Ali Zaidi as deputy White House National Climate Advisor are very strong signals that I think can give us comfort that things are moving in the right direction for offshore wind. I think in the previous presentation, has been a lot of very good and very tangible examples about the opportunities that offshore wind can bring. So I don't think I can add much to that, but other than saying that the investments are very huge, and with that comes jobs, with that comes benefit for the communities, and it really is replacing fossil fuels with clean and safe energy. That's what we're after.
Dominique, about a minute left, okay?
That's excellent. With regards to challenges, I think what we are hoping for is to have very sort of clear and transparent visibility of additional leasing coming forward. I think New York Bight is our top priority, and adding more leases to the mix, I think, will help in having a healthy competition and keeping the rates low. And the other aspect, I think, there on that side, I think, would probably be around permitting to optimize those processes and make them more predictable for the developers, which will add to efficiency and which will also reduce the risks of these projects. With that, I'll hand it back. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Okay, Dominic, thank you very much. And waiting very patiently is our cleanup presenter, Jordan Shoesmith. Jordan is with Vineyard Wind. So Jordan, we'll turn it over to you.
Great, let me just share my screen. Let's see here. Can you see the presentation?
It's coming up now. There it is, Jordan. Yep.
Great. So a little bit about Vineyard Wind. We're a joint venture company jointly owned by Avangrid Renewables, one of the leading renewable energy developers in the United States, which is a subsidiary of Iberdrola, one of the largest utilities globally, and a leader in offshore wind development around the world, as well as Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners, which is a fund management company that is investing, has over $12 billion under management, and a pretty large portfolio of projects in all major markets, including Europe, Asia, here in the US. We have offices in New Bedford and Boston. We have a Connecticut office opening soon. We've got a great team of over 100 people working to advance our 2 projects under contract and future project opportunities in our 2 lease areas. A bit about our team to date. We've kind of seen ourselves as kind of spearheading the offshore wind industry here in the United States with early success and early movement and a lot of firsts, including having all state and local permits for Vineyard Wind 1. Recent news, which I'll get more into on our federal permitting for Vineyard Wind 1, being the first to sign a host community agreement with the town of Barnstable, where our project will be interconnecting. First in the nation community benefits agreement with Martha's Vineyard and Vineyard Power. A project labor agreement that we expect to be finalized in the coming weeks, which will be a first in the nation. Actively engaging with local workforce and businesses to start building the workforce necessary and integrating the local businesses into the supply chain in a real and meaningful way to ensure that the benefits are localized. And then we also take our responsible development very seriously and had a landmark agreement agreed to, I think, a couple of years ago now with a few environmental organizations to ensure that the North Atlantic right whale is protected during development, construction, and operations of our project, as well as committing significant dollars to fishery mitigation and study. A bit about our lease areas. We own 2 lease areas, 501 and 522, with a combined 290,000 acres. And in 501, we have 2 projects under contract, the first being Vineyard Wind 1, with an approximate capacity of 806 megawatts, with the announcement that we will be deploying the GE Haliade X turbine recently. Our ROD, which is probably the largest big topic of discussion, recently, BOEM just announced that they would resume our federal permitting and start developing the final EIS for the Vineyard Wind 1 project. We expect the ROD to be issued later this year, to be promptly followed by financial close on that project and construction to start before the end of the year, which is a big milestone for the industry. And we're excited to continue moving this project along and ensuring that it is the first commercial scale offshore wind project in the United States. This project will interconnect, as I said, at the Barnstable substation in town of Barnstable on Cape Cod. We will be staging the turbines out of New Bedford. And there are a lot of other local opportunities that we are working on, including workforce and education. Park City Wind, which is our most recently awarded project. This was awarded at the end of 2019, which to me still feels like last year, but the project will be right next to our Vineyard Wind 1 project, also around 800 megawatts, also interconnecting in the town of Barnstable. Here we have invested heavily, or will be investing heavily, in the city of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and in underutilized port infrastructure, including a 18-acre facility called Barnum Landing, where we'll be doing our TP outfitting or transition piece outfitting, as well as setting up a long-term operations and maintenance hub to operate our portfolio of projects in New England. That project is expected, we've already filed our COP last year. We're expecting to get the COP completion notice soon, and for the environmental review process to commence shortly thereafter. That project is expected to reach commercial operation in 2025. We also have the 522 lease area, which is the southern and easternmost lease area off the coast of Massachusetts. It's approximately 85 miles east of Montauk. And it is where we originally proposed what is probably known best as the Liberty Wind project into the most recent NYSERDA solicitation. We believe we have about 2.4 gigawatts of capacity in that lease area. We expect to continue developing it, having conducted a lot of the surveys already, and submitting our permits probably sometime this year with market opportunities that we see everywhere in the Northeast, including New Jersey and New York, with New York being of particular interest. That is all I had, but I do want to speak a little bit before I hand it off about the opportunity, as so many have pointed out, in the New York Bight. As a lot of you know, up and down the East Coast, we have about 1.7 million acres of federal lease areas that are being developed by some of the world's best offshore wind developers. In order to achieve not just the targets that the Biden administration has set out to double production in federal lease areas, but also just to meet the demand under state mandated targets, we need additional lease areas, and the New York Bight being the most obvious one. Looking at the areas that New York State itself has recommended to BOEM that be leased, there's an opportunity for around 700 to 800,000 acres of additional lease area to be leased in the New York Bight, which could accommodate upwards of 12 gigawatts of additional supply for the New Jersey and New York markets. I anticipate that New Jersey and New York will buy even more offshore wind than their targets suggest, and that offshore wind will be critical to achieving decarbonization goals up and down the East Coast and eventually on all of our coasts here in the United States. I'll leave you with that.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jordan. And good luck with completing the permitting process. That will be a landmark, as you indicated. And I'd like to thank all of the panelists, great presentations, great companies involved in a very exciting industry. And now I'll turn it back to Matt to handle the questions.
Thanks, Bob. So if you have a question, please just put the question in the chat and then I'll read it for you. I already had a couple of questions. Some were emailed to me, some were texted, and I see some on the chat already. So please just do that. We'll try to wrap this up by 11. First question I had was from Clint Plummer of Rise, Light, and Power. The question is, this is to all the developers. What do you see as the most significant challenge in achieving Governor Cuomo's nation-leading goal of 9,000 megawatts of offshore wind? Feel free for anyone to step in and take it.
Well, I won't be shy. I mean, I think when we look at the history of offshore wind in the US, we see that our first projects were proposed the same time as they were in Europe, right? About 15, 16 years ago. And none were built. And the issue each time wasn't financing, it wasn't technical, it was stakeholder opposition. So I think we would be foolish to think that we don't have that same risk. And there is a tendency for people not to want change, and sometimes not for a really logical reason. Some people think the Northport towers are beautiful and part of the landscape, but they don't want to see anything else like that. So, I mean, I think that if we really want to see this change, then it's really got to be all hands on deck to make sure that we can convince the folks who are uneasy about it.
Thanks, Julia. I want to try to get to as many questions as possible, but does one other person want to jump in maybe?
I just want to say one thing. The other benefit here is that New York State's got a partner down in DC finally, right? That's a huge deal. So if you want to hit that 9 gigawatt goal, you're going to have federal authorities that actually want to, meet their climate goals through offshore wind. So that's a big difference too.
Thanks, Damien. Next question is from Sean Deary. What support will be given to the development of local businesses affiliated with offshore wind innovations, or are you internally developing innovations? For example, drones that speed up maintenance, green hydrogen electrolyzing startups, specialized boating vessels, etc.
I can take that. I can tell you that we're already working with some of the companies in Long Island. ULC Robotics has been out there serving some of our foundations at the project that we own off of Block Island, the first offshore wind farm in America. And so, we certainly want to speak to companies that are interested in working with us. To an extent, people have to sort of self-identify with, the supply chain and the opportunities they could bring to offshore wind. But we definitely want to talk to you, and you can reach me certainly for Long Island purposes. But that's definitely, those are opportunities that we want to cultivate, and we look forward to to hearing what you have to offer.
I would only add a plug for the NYSERDA offshore wind supplier database, and we always refer to that for everything. And the more keywords that companies can put in, the better when they're registering on the NYSERDA database.
I might also just quickly add that the focus of the question was on innovation, and we obviously are all members of the National Offshore Wind Research and Development Consortium that Bob Cattell here chairs. And we're doing a lot of important work in coordination with the states and other agencies to advance innovations that are being done locally to benefit the industry across the United States. Us at Vineyard Wind also have a local partnership with Greentown Labs focused on technological innovations that will help us responsibly develop these projects. So I know a lot of us are doing a lot, and it's being addressed.
Yeah, from our side, I think we really would like to work with sort of existing businesses or companies on that. Whilst we do have an internal sort of as a large sort of developer an internal innovation department and people who do nothing else but looking at innovations. We never really have the ambition to really drive the ambitions ourselves and come up with them, but this is all more about interacting with organizations who have great ideas, with people who have great ideas, and then pick those who are most promising, and then maybe fund or co-fund those to bring them into the real projects.
Thanks, Dominique, and everybody. Next question is from Kevin Law.
Hey, panelists, terrific job. So excited to hear about all the progress you're making. As I mentioned in my opening comments, this is one of the few sectors where the business community, our friends in labor, and most of the environmental community are all in sync, and we are supportive of your efforts. Is there anything that business, labor, and environmental communities can do to be helping you get your projects over the finish lines?
Well, I don't mind saying that we have a hearing process that starts today, actually, for the draft environmental impact statement that's part of our federal permitting application. And comments in general are due by the 22nd of February for South Fork Wind. So more is more when it comes to comments. If you would like to express your support for the project and for the future that you see in offshore wind, we'd certainly welcome your voices. This is this is New York's first offshore wind project, so it'd be terrific to see a really strong showing there. And you can just Google South Fork Wind and BOEM, and it'll take you right to the page, or you can find your way to the opportunity to submit comments. I can put it in the chat too.
Okay, we'll move on. Question from Mark Harrington in Newsday. Do the developers consider the waters off the South Fork of Long Island fair game for future lease areas and offshore wind development? If not, why not?
I would just say that that's probably up to the state and the federal agencies involved in leasing. We will, I won't comment on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Although I will say that stakeholders will have an opportunity to comment on which lease areas are ultimately leased, and I think that those considerations will be taken very seriously by this administration and New York, which is already, if you look at what New York State has recommended, they have not recommended that they move forward with lease areas directly off the coast of Long Island, particularly to address viewshed concerns as well as conflicts with commercial fishing. So.
Thanks, Jordan. We only have a few minutes left. We're getting a ton of questions on the chat, my email, text, so I'll try to get to as many as we can before 11 o'clock. And if your question's not asked, feel free to email me at mcohen@longislandassociation.org, and I will try to get those questions to the panelists for an answer for you. Next question is from Ryan Madden. Can panelists speak to their specific efforts with engaging with the indigenous communities on Long Island in their build out of offshore wind, including on consultation and site development, as well as workforce development opportunities? Relatedly, can they speak to how they are relating to the 40% equity investment mandate under the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act as they continue to work in New York State?
So I can start there. I mean, I can tell you that consultation with the tribes has been a really important part of our work in developing the projects that we have. As I mentioned, South Fork's quite a mature project at this point, and so we've had a number of engagements on Long Island, specifically with the Shinnecock Nation. There's obviously we have to consult with tribes, throughout New York and the New England area to support our projects. So that's something we take very seriously. They're invited to come along, particularly as we examine routes on shore. They're invited to participate in those consultations. And in general, workforce development is something that want to cast a wide net there generally and make sure that everyone in Long Island is aware of the opportunities that are coming their way in a connection with offshore wind. And so, that's why we're collaborating with labor and academia, together with industry for our National Offshore Wind Training Center. And, those are opportunities that will, that will provide, that we hope to provide into lots of communities to provide opportunities for those who are interested in this field.
Okay, unless another panelist wants to chime in, I want to get to a question from B.A. Schoen about if any of these projects will be paying property taxes or pilots.
Yes, of course. Any infrastructure that we build is subject to local taxing and pilot agreements.
Yep, exactly.
Let me move on to Louise Harrison. Would there be a need for land-based training facilities near offshore wind construction sites, or would those be centralized?
In our experience at Equinor, they're largely centralized. We send our workers to get the best training in the world if needed. We send workers from the UK to other countries for specialized training all the time. So I think I would love to see New York really agree on a few sites and make those world-class sites rather than have a sort of scattershot approach. But we'll see if that's possible.
Yeah, and certainly that, that's part of our commitment as well. The National Offshore Wind Training Center, will be located in Suffolk County. So we hope to make something really spectacular open there. We have great partners to help make that come to fruition.
Next question is from Brian Gilman. I have new technology and development. How can we get more involved with the offshore wind developers and possibly get partnerships?
I think Maddie's briefed me on your technology. It's fascinating. We have a meeting set for Thursday, but I think it's amazing. The more local folks we can meet that are looking at innovation, the better.
Matt, maybe I could jump in here for a second. And Jordan,
Sure,
thank you for that nice shout out for the National Offshore Wind Research and Development Consortium. Go to their webpage. There's money available to do research, to develop new technologies. So I would encourage any of you who have an interest to submit proposals.
Hey, Bob, we're running out of time. So I just want to say, and maybe you could close it out, Bob, after I say this briefly. I just want to remind everyone, we had a lot of questions. Again, I can't get to all of them and be respectful of everybody's time. It's already almost 11 o'clock. If you have a question that you'd like to ask one or more of the developers, please email it to me, mcohen@longislandassociation.org. And I'll also send out the PowerPoints will be sent out to the folks that attended the meeting. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm sorry we couldn't get to everyone. But Bob, maybe before you close it out, does each panelist want to just speak maybe briefly for 30 seconds if they have any closing comments they want to add? We'll start with Julia, since Equinor was supposed to be first in line today.
Again, my apologies.
No, I didn't mean it like that.
I love the question, how can we help? And I think that I would love to be able to rely on this group to advise me and our team. But there certainly are things that over the next couple of years we're going to need advice on, direction, and to really be able to take the temperature of Long Island leaders. And I hope that you'll be a resource for us in the future.
Damien?
Yeah, I mean, Julia's spot on. I think everyone just needs to remember that we're in it for the long haul, right? This isn't some short-term flip. We're here for decades. We're going to build relationships for the long haul, and we're looking forward to two-way dialogue and getting in the game. Thanks, everybody.
Jen and Liz?
Sure. Same thing. I mean, obviously, we heard a lot about the stakeholder component, and no one knows stakeholders like the Long Island Association. You have such an awesome network. We count on your advice often, and just helping us to spot issues, stay ahead of issues. We want to develop good projects, design good projects, and so always happy to check in and get your thoughts on things. But in general, as was said by others, I mean, we're all going to have to work together to get these projects over the finish line. There's definitely kind of a limit to what people want to hear from developers. They want to hear from other validators that we're doing the right thing, that we're designing good projects, that indeed the impacts will be mitigated. And so, we thank you for all of the help that you provide and just trying to, to keep folks together and driving towards, articulating the benefits of offshore wind.
don't think I could've
Dominique?
said it
Oh,
better
so
than
go ahead,
Jen.
Liz. Okay.
I don't think I could have said it better than Jen.
Dominique?
Yes, thank you. Well, I've been in this business, offshore wind development and construction for close to 20 years, and I'm truly convinced that from those sites that we have already in operation, we don't really create a negative sort of impacts, but really these projects are minimal in terms of negative impact on the environment, and they really maximize in terms of how constant the generation is that we produce with the steady sea winds. Yeah, a lot of things have to fall in place for these complex projects to work out, but I think we all are determined to make it happen. And yes, we are in there for the long haul. We will operate those sites. We want to be good neighbors, and yeah, so looking forward to working with you.
Jordan, you get the last word.
Oh, great. No pressure. No, I might just add that, I think this is kind of what everyone else is saying, but these projects don't get built without your input, without your support, without organizations like the Long Island Association organizing those things on behalf of the industry and on behalf of these projects. The other thing I might say is we don't have a project in New York. It is a regional industry. It is a global industry. It's going to take all of us supporting each other, us being supportive for efforts on the island, and seeking out opportunities for local businesses on the island and training centers on the island to support our projects in the future as well, and vice versa. And we want to see everyone succeed. And I think stay persistent, stay committed. If you're looking for opportunities in the industry, don't give up, keep bothering us, keep reaching out to us. You're going to get the conversation, and it's going to pay off. So thanks, everyone.
Great.
Final word, Bob?
Yeah, final word really is just to thank the members of the panel. It's really great to have you here. Your remarks were obviously of great importance to us. And I think there is a role, as has been stated, for the Long Island Association to play in supporting these opportunities from an energy and economic development standpoint. So we'll look forward to hearing from you in the future. Reach out to us if we can be helpful in moving these projects forward. And just like to thank you again for your participation in the panel this morning.
Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Great job, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.